Welcome to Let's Talk Everything CNA, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of certified nursing assistants, the challenges, and the triumphs that make this profession so extraordinary. We're bringing you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we're here to set the record straight. So if you're ready to be inspired, motivated, educated, and maybe even a little entertained, you're in the right place. We'll give it to you straight up. Buckle up and let's talk about everything CNA.
From the Ashton Care Academy here with another episode of Let's Talk Everything CNA. So today I wanted to run briefly through how lucrative becoming a CNA actually is. So if you are somebody who has always loved being around people and you feel like you can give back, then let me tell you, becoming a CNA is probably a great option for you. Here's what's so lucrative about becoming a CNA. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or if you're 68 or 70. Once you're physically able to do the work, and as I have said before, you actually like people, then I definitely would consider becoming a CNA. And many people today are looking for an extra way to earn a few dollars. Let me tell you that when I tell you all the different places that you can work as a CNA, you might be very surprised, or maybe places that you didn't think of or that you didn't know. So there's no such thing as it's too late to come back to school. It is not. Becoming a CNA today is an extremely valuable certification to have. And guess what? You can take it state to state. You don't physically need to even use your certification, but you do need to keep it active if indeed one day you want to come back into healthcare. So it's something that you can get now. Maybe it's not a good time for you to go out working as a CNA right now, but if you come back to school and you get your certification, I'm going to tell you the different ways in which you can keep that certification active. And just know that if you need flexibility, say for example, the reason I went on to become a CNA is all of my kids went off to college. And I sat at home one day and thought, well, now what am I going to do with my life? And I knew that I loved working with people. So I went back to become a CNA, and you can do the same. And like the faucet, you can turn it on, you can turn it off. You can work when you want. You can stay at home when you need to. You can wait for your husband to mind the kids so you don't have to pay for a babysitter. You can work nights when everybody's in bed, and you can sleep during the day when your kids are at school. And even if you are a mom that has to stay at home and you figure, well, I'm not going to become a CNA because my kids are home all summer, don't think like that, because the truth is, like what I used to do, I used to work the night shift when my husband was home. And then of course, you have to get sleep during the day, but the truth is that it's all workable. There's great flexibility. And to that, even if you didn't want to work the summers, you don't have to. It depends where you end up working as a CNA. You might say, well, Aisling, how does that work? You can't start working and then stop working. Well, I say, yes, you can, because if you don't work for a hospital, you don't work for a doctor's office, you're not working long-term, you're doing agency work, yes, like that faucet, you can turn it on and you can turn it off. Just by an app on your phone, you can pick up shifts that work for you, or just don't respond for shifts that don't work for you. So if that means that you can work from September all the way through May when the kids get out of school, great. If you can't work during the summer, that's okay too. You can have that flexibility. So now let's just talk about the places that you can work as a CNA. So one of the biggest misunderstandings in healthcare today is that all CNAs work in skilled nursing facilities, and that is not true. What is true is that most of the clinicals for all CNAs are done in those facilities. Many facilities put dibs on the CNAs or offer them job placement when they're doing the clinicals because they're so short-staffed and they need good CNAs. So that's why most CNAs end up in skilled nursing facilities. But understand that there are multiple places that you can work as a CNA, and a skilled nursing facility is one of them. Okay, and skilled nursing is a nice place to work if indeed it's a good skilled nursing facility. They offer benefits, they offer 401ks, I'm sure they offer promotions, and they offer career advancement. So that's one place. The second place CNAs can work is in doctors' offices. Now, since COVID hit, usually what you find in doctors' offices are nurses, obviously doctors, and medical assistants. So there happens to be a huge shortage in medical assistants as well. And now doctors' offices are hiring CNAs. So you can work in a doctor's office as a CNA, taking blood pressures, checking people in, bringing them back to the room, taking their height and weight, charting all of that stuff, and then, of course, reviewing the doctor's notes with them and then helping them on their way. So that's actually a really nice job for those that would want to work in a doctor's office. Now, the third place you can work is in a hospital. And for any of you who have ever been in hospital or have seen a loved one in hospital, you will note that the hospitals is all run with CNAs, nurses, and doctors. Every floor in every single hospital on every shift, which is typically 8 hours, probably has 4 to 5 to 6 CNAs, dependent upon how big each floor is or each department on that floor. So CNAs are in huge high demand for the hospital systems. So that's another place that you can work. Then, besides the hospitals, many of them have their own home health, which is another division of the hospital where patients are discharged out of the hospital and go home. However, the hospital system still takes care of the patient. So, for example, I'm going to say Advocate. So, Advocate hospitals have Advocate home health, and you don't work in the hospital, but you work for the Advocate health system as a CNA out in the field under the home health branch doing CNA responsibilities. Another place that CNAs can work is in what we call CCRC, which are continuing community retirement centers. And they are places where people go in that are cognitively and physically 100%. Maybe they don't have any children, they sell their homes, and they want to live in a facility, be around people for conversation purposes and socialization purposes. CCRCs offer bus rides if somebody doesn't drive, and they have all sorts of restaurant, bars, fun activities, in addition to leveling up if you will say need extra care. There's what we call assisted living in CCRCs, and then there's memory care in CCRCs, and then there's the rehabilitation part of CCRCs as well. So you could work in a CCRC too. And as a specialization, if indeed you want to specialize as a CNA, or we'll say if it's in your heart, you have a special place in your heart for dementia care, like I do, you could work in the memory portion, the memory care floor or section of a CCRC, or indeed a long-term care skilled nursing facility also. And that's where you would really be doing CNA responsibilities, but you would also be very much featuring and working with people who have a form of dementia. Then another place that you could work as a CNA is in a non-medical home care company. There are hundreds and hundreds of non-medical home care companies here in Illinois. You don't have to be a CNA to work in a home care company. However, home care companies oftentimes prefer to have a CNA or have CNAs on their staff in addition to their home care aides, because they may have clients who have a lot of different, what we call comorbidities, which is a lot of different diseases going on at the same time. So the home care agency needs a person that has a little more higher education in relation to the different conditions that the person might have that needs care. Now, as a CNA, just know that if you do work for a home care company, you're going to have to work at least one 8-hour shift somewhere else during your tenure working with that home care company within 2 years. Otherwise, you'll lose your certification. So you don't want that to happen. And we'll talk about that on another podcast, but just know that you can indeed work in home care. And then another place that you can work is what we call for agencies. So there are lots of agencies out there where you can have that app on your phone and you can literally pick the price, you can pick the shift, you can pick the place, and you can work when you want to, and you can stay at home when you want to as well. So the final and last place, well, actually, there's two more. The last two places that you can work as a CNA would be hospice. Now, if you want to work in hospice as a CNA here in Illinois, I can't speak to the other 49 states, but here in Illinois, you must have a year's experience under your belt before you can work for a hospice company doing CNA work. So as a CNA, you can work in the hospital unit in the hospitals. Obviously, you could work in hospice care where you're going to the home care setting, but you're working for the hospice company and they send you to hospice patients. And then there is such a thing as what we call a hospice house, where they have, multiple beds for hospice patients, and you can work in those hospice houses as well. And then lastly, there are clients who are quite wealthy and who might hire you privately, but they're looking for a person who is active as a CNA. And you might travel with that family. You could maybe work 6 months in Florida or Arizona, where a lot of the elderly folks travel to. You might even travel with them to different countries if they're going on vacation and they want to bring their loved one. Or you could work for them privately and take care of their loved one in the home. If that is the case, then of course you would need insurance. And that's something that we would talk about on a whole other podcast. And yes, you can get private insurance doing a CNA work privately for a family. In other words, you're not working for a hospital system or for an actual business. You're working for a family directly. And we'll talk about that, like I said, on another podcast. So I hope that you found all of this useful. If you need any further information, please don't hesitate to contact us. And we can be found at ashlingcareacademy.com. We offer several classes, a fast track day class, a hybrid night class, which is half and half online, half in person. And then we offer an in-person night class as well. Classes are 5 weeks, 6 weeks, or 7 weeks. So if there's anything we can help you with, please don't hesitate to contact us on our website, ashlingcareacademy.com. See you in school.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Let's Talk Everything CNA. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we're here to cut through the noise. No fluff, just the facts and information you need. If you found value in today's podcast, then please subscribe and share with fellow CNAs or caregivers inspired to become CNAs. Stay tuned for more episodes. Until next time, keep your head down, stay focused, and most importantly, stay informed.